The dying star cast its final light across the ruins of what had once been the proud capital of the Zinthari Empire. Admiral Kexthon watched from his command bridge as the evacuation ships struggled to break orbit, their engines straining against the gravitational pull of the collapsing system. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer announced, her forearms trembling as she worked the controls. It's from the Devourers." The bridge fell silent. Every being, present, Zinthari, Kelvani, even the silicon-based crystallites, knew what that meant. The Devourers didn't negotiate. They didn't make demands, they simply consumed everything in their path. "Put it through," Kexthon commanded, his scaled hide rippling with barely contained fear. The hologram that materialized before them was a nightmare-given form. The Devourer representative stood nearly 3 meters tall, its obsidian carapace reflecting the dying star's light like polished death. 6 red eyes burned with an intelligence that made Kexthon's blood run cold. "Children, of flesh and metal," the creature spoke, its voice like grinding stone. "Your resistance ends today. We have consumed 17 civilizations in this sector alone. Your ships are broken, your worlds burn, there is nowhere left to run." Kexthon stepped forward, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. "The Galactics are. Council will not bow to. The Galactic Council is dead." The Devourer's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "We feasted on their homeworld 3 cycles ago. Their screams were nourishing." Around the bridge, crew members exchanged desperate glances. The Council had been their last hope, the unified government of over 200 species across 50,000 star systems. "However," the Devourer continued, "we offer you a choice. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Continue to resist, and we will make your agony last for generations." The transmission cut to black, leaving only the sound of labored breathing and the hum of failing life support systems. "Admiral," whispered his tactical officer, a young Kelvani with silver fur that had turned white from stress. "What do we do?" Kexthon stared at the empty hologram projector for a long moment. In his 300 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy like this. The Devourers had appeared from the void between galaxies 2 years ago, their black ships emerging from tears in space itself. They consumed everything: planets, stars, even the quantum foam that held reality together. "Send a message on all emergency frequencies," he finally said. "Full spectrum broadcast, maximum power." "Sir, that will drain our remaining energy reserves," his engineer warned. "Do it anyway." Kexthon's voice carried the weight of absolute command. "If this is truly the end, then someone needs to know what happened here." As his crew worked frantically at their stations, Kexthon composed what might be the final transmission from the last free fleet in known space. "This is Admiral Kexthon of the Zinthari Defense Force, broadcasting on all frequencies. The Devourers have broken through our final defensive lines. All major civilizations have fallen. If anyone receives this message, run, hide, find some dark corner of the universe and pray they never find you." He paused, watching another evacuation ship explode as Devourer interceptors caught it in the planet's gravity well. "We fought with everything we had. We united species that had been enemies for millennia. We threw our greatest weapons, our most advanced technology, our bravest warriors against them. None of it mattered. They are beyond us in every way." The ship shuddered as Devourer boarding pods attached to the hull like hungry parasites. "If there are any species out there that we haven't encountered, any civilizations beyond our reach, learn from our failure. The Devourers cannot be reasoned with, they cannot be bought or bargained with, they exist only to consume, and they are coming for—" The transmission cut to static as the bridge lights failed. In the darkness, Kexthon heard the sound of cutting tools working through the blast doors. Soon, there would be only silence. Another voice extinguished in the growing darkness that was swallowing the galaxy, but his message had been sent. Across space, automated relay stations boosted the signal, sending it racing toward the unknown reaches of the Outer Rim territories, where uncharted worlds orbited forgotten stars. On one of those worlds, in a small blue planet's orbital monitoring station, A young technician named Sarah Chen picked up the transmission. She stared at the readout in confusion, running the alien language through their translation protocols. "Hey Marcus," she called to her supervisor. "You need to see this. I'm picking up some kind of distress signal from really, really far away." Marcus Rodriguez, a grizzled veteran of Earth's Space Force, looked over her shoulder at the display. His face paled as the translation algorithms worked through the message. "Get me a direct line to command," he said quietly. "Tell them we need to speak to the director immediately." "What is it?" Sarah asked, but Marcus was already reaching for the emergency communication array. For the first time in human history, they had received proof that they were not alone in the universe, and that proof came with a warning that something was coming to kill them all. Chapter 2. The Sleeping Giant. 3 months after the first transmission, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. The vast chamber was packed beyond capacity, with representatives from every nation on Earth listening in stunned silence as she delivered her report. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal, "we are no longer alone. The signals we've been receiving originate from approximately 47,000 light-years away, in what we now believe to be a vast galactic civilization." The Russian representative leaned forward. "And you're certain these are genuine alien communications?" "Absolutely. We've confirmed the authenticity through multiple channels. The mathematical constants, the physical laws referenced in their technical data, even the quantum signatures of their transmission methods, all of it checks out. This is real." Secretary General Patricia Okafor spoke next. "Dr. Vasquez, your report mentions that these devourers have been systematically destroying entire civilizations. What's your assessment of the threat level?" Elena took a deep breath. "Based on our analysis of the combat footage included in the transmissions, the Devourers possess technology that's roughly equivalent to what we might achieve in 200 to 300 years. They can manipulate space-time, create artificial black holes, and their ships appear to be powered by controlled annihilation reactions." Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. "However," Elena continued, raising her voice, "there's something the alien transmissions reveal that they themselves might not fully understand. Humanity has been preparing for war in ways that no other species in that galaxy apparently has." Admiral James Harrison, the newly appointed head of Earth's Planetary Defense Initiative, stood up. "Dr. Vasquez is referring to what we call the warfare evolutionary advantage. While these alien civilizations appear to have focused on exploration, trade, and peaceful coexistence, humanity has spent its entire history perfecting the art of killing." The Chinese representative looked skeptical. "You're suggesting that our history of violence is somehow an advantage?" "I'm stating it as fact," Harrison replied bluntly. "Every major technological advancement in human history has been driven by military necessity. We didn't develop nuclear physics for power generation, we did it to build bombs. We didn't create the internet for communication. It was designed to maintain command and control during nuclear war. Even our space program was born from ballistic missile research." Elena stepped forward again. "Admiral Harrison is correct. While these alien species developed amazing peaceful technologies, they never faced existential threats that forced rapid military innovation. Look at the tactical data from their battles with the Devourers. They fight in formations, they follow predictable patterns. They even appear to observe some kind of warfare etiquette." "And humans don't?" asked the French representative. "Admiral." Harrison's smile was grim. "Representative Dubois, when humans fight for survival, there is no etiquette. There are no rules. There is only victory or extinction." In the months that followed, Earth transformed. The revelation that humanity was part of a vast galactic community under threat sparked the greatest mobilization in human history. Old enemies became allies overnight. The United States and China shared military secrets. Russia opened its weapons labs to NATO scientists. India and Pakistan worked side by side on fusion reactor designs. In underground facilities across the planet, Teams of engineers and physicists worked around the clock. They analyzed every piece of alien technology they could decode from the transmissions, looking for weaknesses in both the advanced alien tech and the Devourer war machines. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of the Tokyo Advanced Weapons Research Center, made the first breakthrough.
The aliens' energy weapons are incredibly sophisticated, she explained to her international team via holographic conference. But they're designed for efficiency and minimal collateral damage. They're precise, clean, almost polite. Polite.
Weapons? Scoffed Colonel Williams from the Pentagon. How's that a weakness? Because the Devourers adapted to fight against polite weapons, Yuki replied. Their armor is designed to disperse coherent energy beams and deflect particle streams. But I don't think they've ever faced anything like this. She activated a holographic display showing a weapon schematic that made several participants wince. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Hellfire Cascade munition. It's a fusion-powered shaped charge that creates a localized space-time distortion, followed by an antimatter injection that converts roughly 90% of the target's mass into pure energy. We estimate it can punch through a kilometer of the densest known matter. The Brazilian representative looked pale. Dr. Tanaka, that sounds like it could crack a planet. Only a small one, Yuki replied cheerfully. For larger planets, we'd need the stellar ignition torpedo. Similar breakthroughs happened worldwide. In Germany, scientists developed quantum viruses that could infect and corrupt Devourer technology. In South Korea, engineers created self-replicating combat drones that turned enemy ships into raw materials for more drones. In Australia, weapons designers built fusion mines that could destabilize a star's nuclear reactions. But perhaps the most important development happened in a small laboratory in Switzerland, where Dr. Mohammed al-Rashid made a discovery that would change everything. Humans, he announced to his startled colleagues, are apparently the only species in the galaxy that instinctively understands asymmetric warfare. He pulled up tactical analyses from the alien transmissions. Look at how every species fought. The Devourers. They met them ship to ship, matched their formations, tried to out-technology them. Classic symmetric warfare, matching strength against strength. And that's wrong? Asked his research partner. It's suicidal when facing a superior enemy, Mohammed replied. But humans, we've been the underdog in conflicts for millennia. We know how to be sneaky, how to hit where the enemy doesn't expect, how to turn their strengths into weaknesses. We're the only species that seems to understand that when you can't win a fair fight, you make the fight unfair. As Earth's weapons production ramped up, another crucial discovery emerged from the intelligence analysis teams. The Devourers, for all their technological superiority, had one critical flaw: they were predictable. They always followed the same pattern: scout, analyze, overwhelm, consume. They never adapted their tactics because they never needed to. General Patricia Santos, commander of the Global Defense Coalition, summarized it perfectly in her address to the world's military leaders. The Devourers are used to fighting civilizations that build beautiful, efficient, elegant weapons designed to minimize casualties and end conflicts quickly. They've never faced a species that builds ugly, brutal, overwhelming weapons designed to ensure that if we're going down, we're taking everyone with us. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kevin Okoye, a xenopsychologist studying the alien transmissions, noticed something the military analysts had missed. Every species in those transmissions refers to the Devourers with the same kind of language, he told the assembled defense leaders. They call them unstoppable, inevitable, forces of nature. They've psychologically surrendered before the fighting even begins. Admiral Harrison leaned forward. And humans? Kevin smiled. Sir, we have a saying on Earth. The only easy day was yesterday. Humans don't accept inevitability. We look at an unstoppable force, and we start building immovable objects. We see an impossible situation and we make it possible. It's not arrogance, it's survival instinct hardened by millions of years of barely staying alive on a planet that was actively trying to kill us. As the final preparations were made, humanity, received one more transmission from the dying galaxy. This one was different. It came from a single ship broadcasting on emergency frequencies. The hologram showed a being unlike any in the previous transmissions. It was smaller, more fragile-looking, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes that spoke of intelligence and desperation. "My name is Scholar Vexhai of the Preservation Fleet," the alien said, its voice barely above a whisper. "I am, perhaps, the last survivor of my species. The Devourers have consumed everything. Every world, every station, every ship. All that remains now is empty space and the sound of their feeding." The alien paused, looking directly into the camera with an expression that transcended species, pure, hopeless fear. "If anyone receives this message, please remember us. Remember the Zenthari and their crystal cities. Remember the Kelvani and their song poems. Remember the Crystallites and their mathematics made manifest. We were not perfect, but we were alive, and we tried to make the galaxy a better place." Vexhai's image flickered as power systems failed. "The Devourers are coming. They've learned of worlds beyond our galaxy and they hunger for new feeding grounds. They will find you eventually. When they do, remember that we tried to warn you. Remember that the transmission cut to static. But this time, humanity was ready with an answer." Chapter 3. The storm breaks. The Devourers emerged from the void between galaxies like a plague of living darkness. Their ships, if they could be called ships, defied conventional understanding. Some were kilometers long, writhing masses of organic metal that pulsed with malevolent life. Others appeared to be fragments of consumed worlds, still burning with the memories of extinct civilizations. They came in numbers that blotted out stars. Hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of vessels, moving with the inexorable purpose of a cosmic hurricane. The first human response came not from Earth, but from the Titan research station orbiting Saturn. Dr. Sarah Chen, the same technician who had first detected the alien transmissions, now commanded humanity's deepest space monitoring array. "Contact confirmed," she announced to the Emergency Command Center. "Devourer fleet detected at the edge of the Oort cloud. Estimated time to inner system, 47 hours. Admiral Harrison's voice crackled through the communication array from, "Sakura, give me your assessment. How many are we looking at?" Sarah stared at her displays, watching as more and more contacts appeared on her screens. "Sir, I'm reading over 800,000 individual vessels. Mass estimates range from frigate-sized scouts to, Christ, Admiral, some of these things are larger than moons." The silence that followed was broken by General Santos. "All stations, this is command. Operation Prometheus is now active. Repeat, Prometheus is active. All units to battle stations." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses came online. For 2 years, every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris larger than a basketball had been converted into a weapons platform. Automated factories in the asteroid belt had churned out millions of attack drones. Fusion plants built into Jupiter's moons powered weapon systems that could crack continents. But the crown jewel of human preparation lay hidden in the shadows of Neptune's orbit, Project Damocles. Commander Maria Gutierrez floated in the command center of what appeared to be a small research station. In reality, it was the control hub for the most devastating weapon humanity had ever created. Around Neptune, invisible to conventional sensors, waited a swarm of 10 million stealth drones, each carrying enough antimatter to vaporize a city. Damocles. "Control to Earth Command," Maria transmitted. "All units are in position and awaiting your orders." The Devourer's arrival at Pluto's orbit was like watching the universe itself fall sick. Their lead vessels, massive biomechanical monstrosities that seemed to eat light itself, swept through space with contemptuous ease. Behind them, the main fleet formed a wall of destruction stretching across billions of cubic kilometers. The first Devourer transmission to humanity was broadcast on all frequencies, a declaration of inevitable doom delivered with the casual arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. The creature that appeared on screens across the solar system was even more terrifying than those in the alien recordings. This one was ancient, its carapace scarred by battles across multiple galaxies. When it spoke, Its voice carried the weight of countless dead worlds. New flesh. It rumbled, 6 burning eyes fixed on the camera with predatory hunger. We taste your fear across the void. We have consumed 3 galaxies. We have fed on the dreams of 1 trillion civilizations. You are simply the next course in an eternal feast. The alien paused, its mandibles clicking in what might have been anticipation. We know you have received warnings from the dying species of the previous galaxy. You know what comes. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift. Resist and we will make your agony echo across time itself. The transmission ended, leaving only the terrible silence of space. From Earth, Admiral Harrison's response was broadcast on the same frequencies, his voice steady and clear. To the Devourers currently violating our solar system, this is Admiral James Harrison of the Terran Defense Force. We have received your terms and reject them entirely. You have made one critical error in your calculations. Harrison paused, and when he continued, there was something in his voice that made even hardened military veterans smile grimly. You assumed we would be like the others. You assumed we would be civilized. The first engagement began near Pluto, where a scouting force of Devourer ships encountered what appeared to be a small human research station. The aliens moved to consume it, expecting no resistance from such a tiny outpost. They discovered too late that the research station was actually a weapons platform designated Cerberus 7, armed with humanity's newest creation, quantum disruptor torpedoes. Lieutenant Colonel Jiang Wei watched from the command center as the Devourer ships approached his trap. Let them get closer, he whispered to his crew. Wait for it. Wait for it. The lead Devourer vessel, a kilometer-long horror of twisted metal and pulsing flesh, reached out with energy tendrils to begin its feeding process. Now, Zhang shouted. Cerberus 7. Unleashed hell. Quantum disruptor torpedoes tore through space-time itself, creating localized reality tears that unmade anything they touched. The lead Devourer ship simply ceased to exist, its matter scattered across multiple dimensions. But the real surprise came when the destroyed research station began to unfold like a deadly flower. Hidden weapon systems emerged from camouflaged sections, revealing Cerberus 7's true nature as a mobile fortress, bristling with enough firepower to level a continent. The remaining Devourer scouts found themselves caught in a withering crossfire of particle beams, fusion missiles, and exotic matter projectiles. In less than 60 seconds, the entire scouting force was annihilated. The Devourer's response was swift and overwhelming. The main fleet accelerated toward the inner system. Their formation shifting from casual arrogance to focused aggression. They had been surprised once. It would not happen again. But humanity had spent 2 years studying their tactics, and surprise was only the beginning. As the Devourer fleet passed through the outer system, they began encountering resistance unlike anything in their experience. Human weapons weren't just destructive, they were vindictive. Fusion mines disguised as asteroids would detonate in chain reactions, each explosion triggering dozens more in an expanding sphere of annihilation. Stealth drones would attach themselves to Devourer hulls and eat through the armor with molecular acid before detonating their antimatter cores. Combat viruses infiltrated Devourer computer systems, turning their own weapons against them. But perhaps most disturbing to the ancient aliens was humanity's complete disregard for their own safety. Human fighters would ram Devourer capital ships at near light speed, their pilots screaming battle cries over open channels as they turned themselves into kinetic weapons. Commander Elena Reyes, leading a squadron of human interceptors against a Devourer battle group near Jupiter, embodied this attitude perfectly. When her wingman's ship was crippled by enemy fire, she didn't retreat or call for backup. Phoenix 2 to all units, she broadcast calmly. Going biblical on these bastards. Tell my kids I love them. Elena's ship, loaded with every exotic explosive the human engineers could devise, plowed straight into the largest Devourer vessel at 80 maximum velocity. The explosion that followed was visible from Earth, a brief news star that marked the death of both a human hero and a ship that had survived the consumption of entire worlds. The Devourers had never faced an enemy willing to trade their own lives so casually for tactical advantage. It was their first hint that this species might be different from all the others. As the fleet reached Mars orbit, they encountered the next phase of human resistance, the Red Planet Defense Grid. What appeared to be a routine mining operation on Mars's surface was actually a massive weapons platform capable of accelerating projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. The Martian mass driver opened fire with rounds the size of city blocks, accelerated to velocities that turned them into relativistic kill vehicles. Each shot carried enough kinetic energy to shatter mountains, and they fired in volleys of hundreds. The Devourer formation, used to elegant energy weapons and sophisticated particle beams, was utterly unprepared for such crude, overwhelming firepower. Ships that had survived the death of galaxies were torn apart by what amounted to very fast rocks. But the true shock came when the Devourers realized that humans had weaponized Mars itself. Hidden fusion charges, planted over decades of terraforming research, turned the planet's core into a directed explosion that launched chunks of planetary matter at the alien fleet, like cosmic shotgun blasts. The Devourer fleet commander, ancient and experienced beyond measure, stared at the tactical displays in something approaching disbelief. In all their conquests across multiple galaxies, they had never encountered a species willing to destroy their own worlds as weapons. "What manner of beings are these?" it whispered to its subordinates. "They fight like the universe owes them a blood debt." As the battered Devourer fleet limped toward Earth orbit, they found humanity's homeworld surrounded by what appeared to be a simple defense grid, a few thousand satellites and space stations, nothing compared to the mighty fortifications they had easily crushed in other systems. They had no way of knowing that those simple defense satellites were actually the control nodes for the most devastating trap in human history. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, the moon, and even Earth's own crust, lay the components of humanity's final gambit, a weapon system so destructive that its creators had needed to take a vote on whether building it was actually genocide. Admiral Harrison stood in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by representatives from every nation on Earth. Above them, the Devourer fleet was moving into position for what they clearly expected to be a final, overwhelming assault. "Admiral," reported Captain Foster from Orbital Command, "enemy fleet is assuming attack formation. We're reading massive energy buildup across their entire line. They're preparing for full-scale planetary bombardment." Harrison looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. In their eyes, he saw fear, determination, and something else, a cold, calculating fury that had been building for 2 years. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, "it's time to show them what happens when you threaten the home of a species that climbed to the top of the food chain by being meaner than everything else on the planet." He turned to the communication array. "All units, all stations, all hidden assets, this is Earth Command, execute Order 66. The code name was deliberately chosen. Like the ancient Sith, humanity was about to reveal the true extent of their preparations. What the Devourers had mistaken for a simple planetary defense grid suddenly revealed itself as the command network for the largest weapons array ever constructed. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris within 1 billion kilometers had been converted into a weapon. Fusion reactors that had been disguised as research stations came online, feeding power to railguns built into the bones of worlds. But the centerpiece of humanity's defense was the Luna Array, a series of mass drivers built into the moon's crust that could accelerate projectiles to near light speed. When they fired in unison, they turned Earth's satellite into the barrel of the largest gun ever built. The first volley from the Luna Array consisted of solid blocks of depleted uranium, each weighing several tons and moving at 30% of light speed. They struck the Devourer fleet like the fist of an angry god, punching through shields and armor that had never been breached. But that was just the opening move. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the solar system began their attack sequence. The asteroid belt became a storm of kinetic projectiles. Jupiter's moons launched fusion torpedoes. Even the sun itself had been weaponized. A network of solar collectors funneled stellar energy into focused beams that could cut Devourer capital ships in half. The Devourers, for the first time in their existence, found themselves outgunned. But the most devastating surprise was yet to come. As their fleet reeled under the unprecedented barrage, they detected massive energy signatures emerging from Earth itself. Humanity had turned their homeworld into a weapon. The ancient Devourer fleet commander felt something it had not experienced in eons: uncertainty. Its ships, which had consumed entire star systems, were being systematically dismantled by weapons that defied conventional understanding. These humans didn't just fight, they fought with a creativity that bordered on insanity. Fleetmaster, one of its subordinates reported, biomechanical voice crackling with static from battle damage. We're detecting massive energy buildup from the third planet. They appear to be channeling their world's magnetic field into some kind of weapon system. The Fleetmaster's 6 eyes focused on the tactical display. Impossible. No species would destabilize their own planet's magnetic field. The radiation would sterilize all life. But as it watched, Earth's magnetic field began to shift and concentrate, guided by a network of superconducting cables that humans had spent decades weaving through the planet's crust. The magnetic field compressed, twisted, and then exploded outward in a directed pulse that fried the electronics of every Devourer ship within 1,000,000 kilometers. They turned their entire world into an electromagnetic pulse weapon. The fleet, Master whispered. What kind of species risks extinction to win a single battle? The answer came from an unexpected source. In the depths of space, a small human vessel approached under a flag of truce, an ancient concept the Devourers had thought extinct. The ship was tiny, barely large enough for a single occupant, but it broadcast on all frequencies with a simple message: request permission to speak with your commander. Against the advice of its subordinates, the Fleetmaster allowed the human ship to dock with its flagship. The being that emerged was unremarkable by Devourer standards: small, fragile, with no visible weapons or armor. Yet there was something in its eyes, a quality the Fleetmaster had seen only in the most dangerous predators. The human introduced herself as Dr. Elena Vasquez, the same xenobiologist who had first analyzed the alien transmissions. She stood in the center of the Devourer command chamber, surrounded by creatures that could tear her apart without effort, and smiled. "You're wondering how we did it," she said calmly. "How a species you've never heard of managed to hurt your fleet. You want to understand what makes humans different from all the others you've consumed." The Fleetmaster leaned forward, its massive form casting shadows across the chamber. "Speak, little prey. Explain how your kind has managed to inconvenience us." Elena's smile widened. "It's simple, really. Every other species you've encountered was civilized. They built beautiful cities, created art, explored the cosmos in peace. They were everything we aspire to be." She paused, looking around the chamber with professional interest. But they forgot something important. They forgot that survival isn't about being civilized. It's about being willing to do whatever it takes to keep your children alive. The Fleetmaster's mandibles clicked impatiently. "Your weapons are impressive for such a primitive species, but you cannot defeat us. We have consumed galaxies. Your resistance is merely entertaining." "Oh, we're not trying to defeat you," Elena replied cheerfully. "That would be impossible. You're right. You're stronger, faster, more advanced than us in every way that matters. We can't win a fair fight." She activated a small holographic projector, showing tactical displays that made the Devourer officers recoil. "So we're not fighting fair. While you were breaking through our outer defenses, we were implementing the Samson Protocol. It's named after an old human story about a man who brought down a temple by destroying its foundation, even though he knew it would kill him too." The hologram showed Earth, but not as the Devourers had seen it. Hidden beneath the planet's crust, a network of antimatter charges surrounded the core itself. "We've turned our homeworld into the largest bomb ever constructed," Elena explained conversationally. "When it detonates, it won't just destroy Earth. It will destabilize Sol's fusion reaction and turn our star into a supernova. The blast will sterilize everything within a 50 light-year radius." The Fleetmaster reared back. "You would destroy your own world, your own species? To stop you from consuming the galaxy, absolutely." Elena's expression never changed from mild politeness. "See, that's what you never understood about humans. We're not trying to survive this war. We're trying to make sure that if we die, you die with us." She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed similar installations throughout human space. Every human colony, every space station, every ship in our fleet is rigged the same way. If you destroy us, we take you with us. If you try to leave, we'll detonate everything and deny you the biomass you need to continue existing. You have exactly one option. The fleet master's voice was barely controlled rage. You would commit genocide against your own species out of spite? Not spite, Elena corrected gently. Love. We love our species enough to ensure that our deaths serve a purpose. We love the idea of life in this universe enough to make sure yours ends here. She deactivated the hologram and looked directly at the ancient alien. But here's the beautiful part. We're giving you a choice. You can leave. Right now. Turn your fleets around. Go back to whatever empty void you came from, and never return. Do that and we won't activate the Samson Protocol. Earth lives, you live, everybody wins. And if we refuse? Elena's smile became something that would have made a shark proud. Then you learn why humans are the only species in the galaxy that named their war god after death itself. The command chamber fell silent, except for the hum of damaged systems, and the whisper of recycled air. The fleet master stared at this small, fragile creature who had just threatened mutual annihilation with the casual tone of someone discussing the weather. You're insane, it whispered finally. Probably, Elena agreed. But we're also very serious about protecting our home. So what's it going to be? Do you want to leave our galaxy as conquerors? Or do you want to stay as radioactive dust? What? Followed was the longest silence in Devourer history. The fleet master, ancient beyond human comprehension, found itself facing a choice it had never encountered in millions of years of conquest. Finally, it spoke. What assurance do we have that you won't detonate your weapons anyway, even if we withdraw? Elena pulled out a small device, a quantum communicator linked to Earth's defense grid. I'll make you a deal. One of your ships, just one, can stay behind to monitor our system. If humans ever develop faster-than-light travel capable of leaving, our galaxy, your observer ship, can signal your fleet to return. Until then, we stay here, you stay away, and nobody has to die. The fleet master considered this. The humans had demonstrated both the capability and the willingness to make good on their threat. They had turned mutually assured destruction into an art form. One ship, it agreed finally. One observer. But know this, small predator. If your species ever spreads beyond this galaxy, we will return. And next time, we will not underestimate you. Elena nodded respectfully. That's fair, but consider this. If we do eventually make it to the stars, it won't be as the same species you're facing today. We'll be something new. Something that learned from fighting you. Something that might just be a match for galaxy eaters. The fleet master's laugh was like breaking stone. You believe you could evolve to match us? No, Elena replied simply. I believe we could evolve to exceed you. It's what humans do. We adapt. We improve. We become whatever we need to become to survive. Give us a few thousand years, and we might just surprise you. As the Devourer fleet began its withdrawal from human space, Elena broadcast a final message to the ancient aliens. Oh, and one more thing. When you're spreading the word about humanity to whatever other cosmic horrors are out there, make sure you tell them this. We don't start fights, but we finish them. The massive Devourer ships, wounded and confused by their first defeat in eons, limped back toward the void between galaxies. Behind them, they left a single observer ship and a species that had just announced to the universe that some prey fight back. Epilogue. The New Age 5 years after the Devourer War, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck of the New Geneva space station, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's first interstellar colony ship. The vessel was massive, a city in space capable of housing 1 million colonists and every piece of technology humanity had developed in their crash course in galactic warfare. But this ship was different from the desperate weapons platforms they had built to fight the Devourers. This one was designed for hope. The breakthrough is ready for her maiden voyage, announced Captain Sarah Chen, the former technician who had become one of humanity's most celebrated space explorers. All systems are green, colonist selection is complete, and the quantum fold drive is operating within acceptable parameters. Elena nodded, but her attention was focused on a smaller display showing long-range sensor data. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between stars, the Devourer observer ship maintained its silent vigil. Its crew, if they could be called that, watched and waited for humanity to make its next move. "Any word from our unwanted guests?" Elena asked. Sarah checked her instruments. "The observer ship is maintaining position at the edge of the system, just like always. They haven't responded to any communication attempts, but they haven't interfered with our operations either. It's like having a very patient, very dangerous neighbor. The past 5 years had transformed human civilization in ways no one could have predicted. The revelation that they were part of a vast, hostile galaxy had sparked a renaissance of scientific achievement and philosophical evolution. Humanity had gone from a single-world species to the masters of their solar system practically overnight. But more importantly, they had discovered something about themselves that changed everything. Elena," Sarah continued, "I've been thinking about what you said to the Fleetmaster, about humans evolving to exceed them. Do you really think that's possible?" Elena smiled, the same expression that had once faced down a galaxy-consuming alien in its own command chamber. "Sarah, 5 years ago we were debating whether faster-than-light travel was even theoretically possible. Now we're launching colony ships to distant stars. What do you think?" The truth was more complex than Elena's confident words suggested. Humanity had indeed evolved, but not in the way anyone expected. The Devourer War had forced them to confront their own nature, their capacity for both incredible cruelty and boundless love. They had learned to weaponize their homeworld, but they had also learned to unite in ways that transcended every historical division. The United Earth government now represented a true global civilization. Former enemies shared resources, knowledge, and dreams of a future among the stars. Children learned about alien civilizations alongside human history. Scientists worked on projects that would have been considered fantasy just years before. But perhaps most remarkably, humanity had begun receiving messages. The first transmission had come from the ruins of the Zenthari Empire, where scholar Vexhai had somehow survived in a hidden research facility. The alien's message was simple but profound. "We heard your answer to the Devourers. You spoke for all of us who could no longer speak. Thank you." More messages followed. Survivors from dozens of species, hidden in deep space or forgotten colonies, began emerging from their hiding places. They spoke of humanity's defiance spreading like wildfire through the remnants of galactic civilization. The story of the species that threatened mutual annihilation rather than submit to conquest had become legend. Captain Martinez of the exploration, Vessel New Horizon, had been the first to make contact with these survivors. His report still gave Elena chills. "They don't just see us as another species," he had transmitted back to Earth. "They see us as something unprecedented, a species that answered cruelty with calculated fury, that met inevitable defeat with impossible defiance. They're calling us the sleeping giants, the species that was content to stay in its corner of the galaxy until someone made the mistake of threatening our home." The most significant contact had come from an unexpected source. 3 months ago, the quantum communication array at Luna Base had received a transmission that changed everything. The message was from the Galactic Council, or rather what remained of it. The hologram that appeared in the emergency session showed a being Elena recognized from the old alien transmissions. Commander Zach Thole of the Council Defense Fleet, one of the few military leaders to survive the initial Devourer assault. The alien looked older, scarred by years of guerrilla warfare, but there was something new in its eyes. Hope. "People of Earth," Zach Thule had said, its voice carrying across impossible distances. "I am transmitting from the hidden fortress of New Sanctuary, where the remnants of 50 species have gathered to plan our return to the stars. We have heard of your great victory, of how you made the Devourers retreat for the first time in their existence." The alien paused, and when it continued, its voice was thick with emotion. "We are no longer scattered survivors hiding in the dark. We are the foundation of a new galactic civilization, one that will not make the same mistakes as the old. We have learned from our defeat, and we have learned from your victory. We know now that survival requires not just wisdom and technology, but the will to fight for what we love." The transmission had included star charts, technological exchanges, and most importantly, an invitation. The survivors wanted humanity to join them in reclaiming their galaxy. Elena had been part of the committee that drafted Earth's response. After months of debate, they had agreed to send expeditionary forces to make contact with the survivors. But humanity would not simply join the new galactic civilization, they would help lead it. The breakthrough represented the first step in that process. Its mission was to establish contact with New Sanctuary and begin the long process of building something unprecedented, a galactic civilization that understood that some things were worth fighting for. As the colony ship prepared for its departure, Elena received a priority transmission from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. The message was brief but significant. "Elena, you need to see this. We're receiving transmissions from outside our galaxy. Someone else is out there and they've heard about what happened here." Elena felt a familiar chill run down her spine. Throughout the galaxy, their story was apparently spreading. Somewhere in the cosmic dark, other species were learning that, when pushed to the brink, some prey became predators. She opened a communication channel to the Breakthrough's bridge. "Captain Chen, this is Dr. Vasquez. Are your crew ready for the possibility that our first interstellar mission might become something more complicated than a simple diplomatic contact?" Sarah's laugh came through clearly over the comm. "Elena, we're humans. Complicated is what we do best. Besides, after facing down galaxy eaters, how much worse could it get?" The question would prove to be prophetic. As the Breakthrough engaged its quantum fold drive and disappeared into the spaces between stars, long-range sensors detected new contacts at the edge of human space. These weren't Devourers. The energy signatures were completely different. Admiral Harrison, now in charge of Earth's expanded defense forces, studied the tactical displays with grim interest. "What do you think, Elena? Friends or enemies?" Elena looked at the data, thinking about the message that had sparked this new chapter in human history. Someone had heard their answer to the Devourers. The question was whether they were coming to shake hands or test humanity's resolve. "Admiral," she said finally, "I think we're about to find out what happens when a species that just learned to fight meets a galaxy that's been watching them do it." As if summoned by her words, a new transmission reached Earth from the unknown. Contacts. The being that appeared on screens across the planet was unlike anything in their records. Tall, elegant, with features that spoke of intelligence and ancient wisdom. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of eons. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am High Coordinator Melthera of the Watchers Conclave. We have observed your confrontation with the Devourer Plague with great interest. Your methods were innovative." The alien paused, and Elena noticed that its expression was unreadable, neither threatening nor welcoming. "We represent a coalition of species from what you would call the Fifth Galaxy. We have successfully contained the Devourer threat in our region of space for millennia. We did not expect to encounter a species capable of forcing their retreat through such direct methods." Elena felt the familiar tension that came with first contact situations. This was humanity's moment to define their relationship with yet another galactic power. "Your success has created ripples across multiple galactic regions," Melthera continued. "The Devourers speak of you with something they have never shown before, respect mixed with wariness. This has implications that extend far beyond your local conflict." The transmission paused, and Elena could almost feel the weight of the alien's next words. "We come to offer you a choice, humans of Earth. Join the greater Galactic Alliance as a protected species, accept our guidance and technology, and take your place as a minor member of galactic civilization. Or," the pause stretched into uncomfortable silence. "Or," Admiral Harrison prompted. Melthera's expression shifted into something that might have been a smile. or prove that your victory over the Devourers was not merely luck and desperation. There are threats in this universe that make the Devourers look like scavengers. If humanity truly wishes to stand as equals among the galactic powers, you will need to demonstrate that your unique approach to problem-solving can address challenges beyond simple survival. Elena looked around the command center at the faces of Earth's leaders. In their eyes, she saw the same expression that had carried them through the Devourer. War. Determination mixed with just enough insanity to make the impossible seem achievable. High Coordinator, Elena replied formally, humanity appreciates your offer. However, we've recently discovered that we don't respond well to ultimatums. If there are greater threats out there, we'd prefer to face them as allies rather than subjects. Melthara's laugh was like crystal chimes in a gentle breeze. An interesting response. Very well, humans. We shall see if you can maintain such confidence when you learn what else hunts in the spaces between galaxies. The transmission ended, leaving Earth's leadership to contemplate their next challenge. They had answered the Devourers with defiance. Now they would need to answer an entire universe that had suddenly taken notice of the small, angry species that refused to go quietly into extinction. Admiral Harrison turned to Elena with a grim smile. Well, Dr. Vasquez, it looks like our quiet little corner of the galaxy just got a lot more crowded. Elena nodded, but her expression was thoughtful rather than worried. Admiral, do you remember what I told the Devourer Fleet Master? About humans evolving to become whatever we need to become? I remember. I think we're about to find out just how far that evolution can go. As Earth's leaders planned their next moves, the quantum communication array received one final transmission from an unexpected source. It was from Scholar Vexahai, the lone survivor who had sent humanity's first warning about the Devourers. The alien appeared older, but there was something new in its large, dark eyes, hope tinged with excitement. Humans of Earth, Vexahai said. I have spent the years since your victory documenting the changes rippling through our galaxy. Species that had hidden for decades are emerging. Ancient civilizations are rebuilding. The Devourer plague continues, its retreat, seeking easier prey in distant regions of space. The scholar paused, looking directly into the camera with an expression of profound gratitude. But most remarkably, the survivors are changing. They are learning from your example, adopting what they call human-style defensive strategies. They are building weapons that prioritize effectiveness over elegance. They are forming alliances based not on shared culture, but on shared determination to never again be helpless. Vexhai's image flickered as the long-range transmission struggled across galactic distances. You asked us to remember the civilizations that the Devourers consumed. We have done more than remember. We have rebuilt them. But this time, we are building them to last. This time we know that peace must be protected by those willing to fight for it. The transmission ended with a simple message that would echo across human space for generations to come. Thank you for teaching us that the price of survival is not civilization. It is the will to preserve civilization at any cost. As Earth prepared for its next challenge, the message spread through human colonies and space stations. They had begun as a single species on a single world, terrified of the dark between the stars. Now they stood at the threshold of becoming something unprecedented, a galactic power born not from conquest or technology, but from the simple refusal to give up. The Devourer Observership, maintaining its silent vigil at the edge of the solar system, transmitted a final report to its distant masters. The humans continue to evolve. They no longer think in terms of survival. They think in terms of victory. Recommend extreme caution in any future encounters. The message raced across the void, carrying with it a warning that would reshape the balance of power across multiple galaxies. Humanity had announced its presence to the universe not with exploration or diplomacy, but with the simple statement that some species, when threatened, don't run or hide. They fight back, and they win. The end.